And we have Andrew Walker with us, veteran Canadian talk show host, sportscaster Walks. You can either look into that camera or you could look at me, but it's nice to have you here on the pirate ship, my man.
Man, I've always wanted to be on this thing. Always.
Right?
Always. As a kid, and then I don't think it was allowed, or maybe there was birthday parties or tours or whatever, and even as an adult, I kind of wanted to. So when you said you were by the ship, I thought maybe you were kind of like overlooking the ship, but you were right on the ship.
Yes. Yeah. And to our viewers, by the way, I appreciate you hanging with us through the break. Patrolman Pete's watching in Winnipeg, and he says, you sound great now. Thank you. Tech Crew, West Edmonton Mall got it. Fix. Mike Horgan in Toronto says, hi there, RP Show, and all the viewers from around the globe. I'm watching on YouTube from Toronto, Ontario. Perfect. Thank you so much. I will get to all your comments here. The Jets fans are very upset. Andrew Walker, I just want to say, very long-time friend of mine, and we met in Red Deer when you were hosting Rebels games, Fan 960 Calgary, Fan 590 Toronto, Sportsnet 650 Vancouver, and now the Rod Pedersen Show. How about that? Hanging your hat in Edmonton, and what more do we need to say? Let's jump right into it. We don't need to have old home week. The NHL last night, it was night 2.
Yeah.
What were your takeaways?
Well, you were at the game. I wasn't at the game, but I did watch it. The Oilers Canucks. It was a fantastic game. I mean,
pretty good game. Yes.
Yeah, it was good. And I'm high on both those teams. Edmonton especially. I think Vancouver could go either way, but I really like Edmonton this year. I think it's their year where they get past the opening round at the very least. The depth shone through a little bit last night. Mike Smith looked like he hasn't lost a step. I know everyone here hated it, but I kind of liked the Duncan Keith pickup. I'm not going to lie.
He was Duncan Keith last night. He was just Duncan Keith in orange.
Yeah, before he got lambasted there by Tyler Myers, I thought he was having a pretty good game. But, I watched, obviously, a lot of that game. Watched a lot of the Habs and the Leafs earlier on. Yeah. But yeah, I'm especially not covering one team specifically right now, like I've done for the last 15, 20 years. It's really interesting to not have necessarily a vested interest in following the every second going ons with the one team or another. It's really nice to kind of back into being a fan again. Yeah.
Yes, it is. You're realizing how this can be fun again.
Yeah.
By the way, for those that just joined us, we'll come around on this with Walks before he leaves us at the end of hour 1, because there are 2 significant CFL items today, and he's a big CFL fan too. Hamilton's been awarded the 2023 Grey Cup. They're already hosting it this year, but they're getting it in again in 2 years. We'll tell you the reasons why. And Rod Black announcing this morning he's leaving CTV TSN. Sounds like effective immediately. He's the number 1 or 2 or 1A play-by-play guy of the Canadian Football League, not to mention everything else that he's done. Raptors host, Canadian National Figure Skating Championship. So we'll get to that with Walks in a moment. I do want to say hey to the people from Winnipeg this morning. Can we just spend a minute on them? I watched a couple shifts of the game, Walks. You've never worked in Winnipeg. I think I've spent far more time there than you have, just in that city. A 4-1 loss in Anaheim on opening night, although I think Anaheim's going to be better than most. How upset should Jets fans be, despite the fact we didn't watch the game, that their team got throttled on night 1 on the road in another division?
It was a little surprising. I don't think you can freak out. I think Tampa set the tone, right? They got
that wedding.
No one is going to lose worse than Tampa did on night 1, and they're back-to-back Stanley Cup champ. And they looked like a men's league team against Pittsburgh with no Malkin and no Crosby. You can't freak out. I think you travel, you start on the road. You got a young team in Anaheim that it's a bit of a placebo effect. Like Anaheim, they might be sneaky. They're going to be fun. They're not going to make the playoff. And if you're a Jet, you ran into a buzzsaw a little bit, talk to me after, 20 games.
Right. So having said that, that's my whole thing. It's one game.
Yeah.
But let's just go back to the Oilers for a second, because I was sitting in the press box last night looking at this Oilers roster. Like, there are a lot of new faces here for a team that finished second place in the Pacific Division last year. And granted, we're swept in round 1, but Duncan Keith, you mentioned. Colton Sevier.
Yeah, Hyman.
Zach Hyman. Warren Fogle came over in the Ethan Bear trade. It's like a quarter of the team's been turned over. There was a lot of new faces last night. And do you think that Dave Tippett came out of that game? How happy do you think he was coming out of that game last night? That they got their 2 points, yet they gave up one to a division rival. They blew a 2-0 lead. It's a lot of teaching moments last night for the Edmonton Oilers, I would think.
Yeah, I look at that game, and if I'm Dave Tippett, I like the way they played. Obviously, when they had a 2-0 lead, I thought it was their game, and they had a chance to put Vancouver away, and they didn't. You'd like to do that. You obviously hate all the penalties that they took in a row later on. When you're up 2-0, that's just a recipe to let Vancouver back in the game, and they did. The Ekman-Larsson goal made it 2-1. And the 2-2 goal is not a great goal, obviously, on Mike Smith, but he was unbelievable other than that, so you can't, really point at him too much. I'm happy if I'm, especially getting the 2 points. I'm happy with how the depth looked, I think, if you're Dave Tippett. That's been the big thing. McDavid's going to get 140 points. Leon Draisaitl's going to get 50 goals. The power play is going to be outrageous. Can you get some contributions down in the lineup? And Zach Hyman obviously did what he does, and I heard you guys talking a little bit about Kyle Turris before, and that anything he gives you is kind of a bonus. And I thought he played with some jump last night. He got a shift in overtime,
and scored the shootout
winner. Yeah, so there you go.
I often wonder what goes into shot selection, player selection in a shootout. How is Tyler Myers shooting in the shootout before Tanner Pearson even?
Tyler Myers didn't shoot.
Didn't he shoot?
No.
It was a defenseman that shot.
Who are you talking? Well, Tyson Barrie shot for Edmonton.
Maybe it was Tyson Barrie.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at that.
Defenseman. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
By the way, these Winnipeg fans, they're not letting it go, by the way. You know that they smoked sports radio in Winnipeg? You know that? It's gone. It's dead.
I'm aware. Yes.
You're very aware.
Yeah.
So they come here.
That's happened to a lot of places over
They've come here to have coffee and talk.
Yeah.
So I just want to say Patrolman Pete is watching in Winnipeg. And just back to the Jets losing in Anaheim 4-1. He says, so losing game 1 to a mediocre team is not being warmly received. Of course, they lost 4-1 on opening. I get what Jets fans will be.
Fans are going to fan, man.
Fans are going to fan. Exactly. Hey, the Leafs game, 2-1 over Montreal. We were not watching it. Moose and I were talking to a football friend of mine in the States, and then heading down to the game to try and find somewhere to park around Rogers Place last night. I wasn't watching the Leafs in the half. So how did those teams look in that?
I thought it was the kind of the classic. I hope you bet the under. It was a classic Leafs Habs. Played it pretty tight. Obviously, no Matthews for Toronto. Matthews a little, I don't want to call him soft, but he misses a lot of time, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Misses a lot of games.
I'm not a fan, but they love him in Toronto, so.
I tease my Leaf fan buddies about this, is because they always defend Matthews, and I'm not a big Matthews guy either. I think he is. I'm not saying he's a bad guy or anything like that. I think he's unlikable. People seem to think he's very
I don't like
likable.
him.
I think he's very unlikable.
Yes.
And the best example I say to my Leaf fan buddies, I was like, you always defend him, and you want to get in on the Matthews is as good as McDavid, which he's not. But when Matthews goes to Arizona in 4 years when his contract's up, you will never hate another player more than you will hate Auston Matthews when he's in Arizona.
Everybody eventually leaves the Leafs, but that's just Leaf fans. They love their guys. I like that.
He's a great player.
He's a great player.
He's a great player.
He's not Connor McDavid. Not even close.
No. He is in that. I think you can have a real good conversation for who's better, Matthews or Draisaitl. I think that's the conversation. And you can throw probably McKinnon is a little step ahead of him. And you can throw Kucherov in that as well. But yeah, listen, I hate these debates because we got to enjoy.
You opened it.
We got to enjoy Connor McDavid, man. I don't hate the debates. I hate the people that insist on being on the wrong side of it. Connor McDavid is Michael Jordan, man. We got to enjoy it right.
Oh, well, I sure enjoyed it last night, man, watching Connor McDavid. You literally cannot take your eyes off him, and you can't cover him or shadow him all game long, just like you couldn't shadow Wayne back in the day. Teams tried.
I thought the Canucks do it. I thought the Canucks did a pretty good job on Connor McDavid, and he was still the best player on the ice and had 2 assists.
Winnipeg Jets did a better job last year in the playoffs, but that's another story.
That is true. Well,
Yeah.
They got to start calling penalties against it, too.
Yeah. Well, that will happen this year.
Even Jets fans know I think they got away with one in that series.
Ryan McCarthy watching in Saratoga, New York says, one more sleep till the Devils finally drop the puck against the Blackhawks. From Jordan Ewart on YouTube, were the Canucks good last night, or are we thinking it'll be typical Oilers this year? Oh, the Oilers came back and won. And that is a game, I was talking to an Oilers fan this morning, that they would have lost in the past.
Well, what's typical Oilers? Like, they were a locked-in playoff team.
Disappointing their fans. That's what typical Oilers. You know that as well as I do.
They're pretty good last year. I mean, obviously losing to Winnipeg was that's a big disappointment.
What, like, are you disappointing your fans on a nightly basis, or are you waiting until it really matters in the playoffs?
Right,
Either way, you're disappointing your fans, and that's typical Oilers, I think, and they weren't last night. The Jets fans continue to chime in. From Dan, the Jets fan on YouTube, we just look disconnected. I think it'll take a few games or less, I hope, to get everyone to connect. They're talking about Blake Wheeler and his contract. By the way, Mark Scheifele didn't play last night. How about that? The last game of his suspension.
Pretty important player. Oh, right. For him blowing up Evans last year, which was a clean hit.
Right?
How about that?
Did you wish you were on the radio when that happened? Or were you still on the radio?
Was I still on the radio when that happened? I was not.
I said it was a clean hit and got it. Like, some people, even hockey people, said some very nasty things to me. My feelings were hurt, Walk. It was a clean hit. With 4 games.
It's still, I say this a lot, it's still hockey, right?
It's supposed to be.
Like, people are still yelling about fight. Guess what? There's no fighting anymore. It's out of the game. You won. It's still hockey, and once in a while, there's going to be some rough stuff. Once in a while, you're going to get your feelings hurt on the ice. He's trying to finish a play, and not to go back to something that happened last April or March or wherever it was, but people are like, oh, if he would have poke checked, he's not in the league. Like, who does that? It's the playoffs.
Exactly.
He buried him.
The hockey people that I knew,
I thought it was a joke.
Totally thought that Evans was goal sucking was the term that I was used. Should have had his head up. It was a playoff game. So, anyways, the tail end of it last night.
But you're right. I forgot about the
that's why Scheifele.
Yeah.
That's why he didn't play. From James in Borden, Manitoba says, if the Oilers are waiting for power plays in the playoffs to win, they're going to be disappointed every year. That's possible. But the power play last night for the Edmonton Oilers, I was like, oh, my God, on the Hyman goal.
Yeah, they're going to be a 25-30% team again on the power play.
Check the time. Andrew Walker with us here on a pirate ship at West Edmonton Mall. Then it never gets old.
I wasn't joking when I said I'm incredibly happy to be on this pirate ship.
Me too.
I feel like you spent some time in Tampa, right? They got the big ship with the
in the end zone
touchdown, yeah.
People that looked at my Facebook yesterday literally thought I was on the pirate ship at Raymond James Stadium. I'm like, no, wrong pirate ship. Right. But life's about goal setting. I think we should go to Tampa and do the show there. By the way, we will get to that CFL news coming up in a few segments, but I want to talk about tonight's games in the National Hockey League because there are more. There are 9. And the games that I've circled that I'm excited about is Florida Panthers home to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Who expected Pittsburgh to go in and do what they did to Tampa? Are they going to do it to Florida tonight? I don't know. Panthers came out of the preseason healthy, fortunately. Not every team can say that. That's one game I'll be watching. Vegas Golden Knights at the LA Kings tonight I'm watching. Leafs go into Ottawa, and Montreal goes into Buffalo. 9 games tonight. Are there any on the slate that particularly have you interested tonight?
I'd have to see the rest of the list. I think LA is going to be fun this year. Does Columbus play tonight?
Yes, they do. They have the Arizona Coyotes. So that historic rivalry will rekindle at Nationwide Arena tonight.
That's right. Well, I'm interested in also because I put a little money on him to win the Calder Trophy at excellent odds. But
you like the sports betting?
I do, yeah. Regina native Cole Sillinger is going to make his NHL debut.
How about that?
And you've had him in studio. You know that, but guys have been telling me about Cole Sillinger for years. Like, this guy was basically pro ready at 16.
12.
Yeah, 12. Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah. And I couldn't believe he slipped that late in the draft. And it's funny, him making Columbus as an 18-year-old, it surprised me 0%. And I'm sure you're in the same category.
I knew he was good enough, but he's 18. Like, as we're sitting here today, he sat, I'll say, in that chair this summer and said, I'm going to Columbus to make the Blue Jackets. I'm like, Cole,
he's a
come
man.
on.
He's a man. He's been a man for...
His neck is the size of a tree stump. So physically, yeah.
So, I'm all in on Cole Sillinger. So I'll be trying to watch a little bit of his debut. When I was pulling up, I was listening to the local radio here. And right when I stepped out, they had said that there was reporter Brady Tkachuk signing his new deal. So is that verified? Is that true?
I have not heard that he signed. I haven't seen any notification. Oh, it is? Producer Clark telling us, yes, Brady Tkachuk has signed. How about that?
That's huge.
On the day of the opening, did we think that it was going to not get done?
Well, it was obviously going to get done at some point. But the fact that you have a young, exciting team and everyone's, fans back in the stands and you're excited, you got whatever Ottawa has $20 to $25 million in cap space, and you don't have your franchise player signed, like, find a way to get it done. Like, don't, and Ottawa can get in their own way sometimes.
Yeah.
But they did, and so that's fantastic.
Just a couple comments from our viewers. Ryan in New York says, the records don't matter when the Blue Jackets and Coyotes get together. Oh, by the way, Oliver Ekman-Larsson was very good last night, and Connor Garland. That was a fleecing, that trade by Jim Benning, I believe, with the Arizona Coyotes. Kelly McDonald says, what about the hit in the Colorado game on the Blackhawk? And the ref's right there, no call.
Oh, it was Landeskog on Kirby Dach.
I didn't see it. I did not see it. How did I miss that on SportsCenter? What do you think about it? I didn't see it.
I have to see it again. Dach's kind of sliding on one knee, so he's in a vulnerable position, and Landeskog finishes him. Maybe a little bit from behind, maybe just a little bit more predatory. I don't know. I'm honestly, people always get mad at me. I'm the wrong guy to talk about this because people want to slow everything down and, super slow motion and how mมgames should this be? And the game is so fast. And you decide to make a hit, and sometimes the hit's going to be a little dangerous.
Back to the Scheifele thing. He laid off.
Back to the Scheifele thing.
Yeah, he laid off at the top of the circles. Jenna Reagan, watching in Southern California, says, let's go, Buffalo. How bad did they get spanked by the Montreal Canadiens tonight? That's what I'll be watching for. Troy Culmer says, how about Jack Campbell last night?
Really good. Really good.
Solid performance in making the goalie story interesting for the Leafs. So we got the Leafs fans chiming in today. All kinds of topics on the table as far as the National Hockey League. But I think we will shift over to CFL when we come back in a sports update, too. I want you to think about what your favorite store in West Edmonton Mall. I want you to think about it. I want you to think about your best West Ed memory. We're still here. And the poll question, by the way, today for Capital Auto Mall Universal Collision Center is, who's cooler, Pirates or Cowboys? And on Twitter, 52% of you saying Cowboys are cooler than Pirates. On Facebook, it's 50-50. So vote on that, and we'll be right back to the Pirate Ship at West Edmonton Mall right after this. You're watching on Game Plus TV, YouTube and Facebook Live at 24-hour Sports Radio at rodpedersen.com. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.